This is Captain Wilhuff Tarkin on Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to James and Jeremiah on the one and only Bombad Radio.
Greetings, Bombad Radio listeners. We'd like to welcome to our podcast a very special guest. We have with us voice actor Steven Stanton, veteran of The Clone Wars and many, many other projects, including Starship Troopers and many video games.
Yes.
We'd like to welcome Steven Stanton to the podcast.
Greetings, Jeremiah and James. This is your Uncle Moralo, and I'm sorry, that's...
Oh my God!
Oh, man.
Dude, I just had a bowel movement. That was scary.
How's it going?
I thought you were in prison.
Haven't you listened to his latest poem for May the 4th?
Did Jimmy and Jason break you out of prison?
I don't want to spoil it for you if you guys haven't listened to it.
No, I haven't heard that yet. Oh,
I think I'm going to have to listen to this because you're out of prison. This is very, very kind of disturbing.
I'm not setting any spoilers, I'm just saying you should listen to Moralo Evolve's May the 4th Be With You little greeting poem thing that he put together.
Oh, man, I love Moralo, man. That guy is scary. I mean, honestly, scary.
Yeah, he's written that way. He's not scary. He's just written that way.
No, but it's awesome though because I like among a lot of some of our longer listeners that we know and a couple other people, not much gets me going. Oh my God, that's actually kind of freaky. That actually gets me going. Oh my God, that's freaky. Please, somebody hit stop. Oh, my God.
Well, any time you have a character that's introduced by saying, oh, yeah, he killed his parents when he was 5 because he was bored, that kind of gives you an idea of what direction you're headed there all of a sudden.
Just bad.
That is true. But while we're on the question of Moralo Evolve then, how did you come up with that voice, or how did that voice evolve? Because I'm assuming it was an idea that branched off into, several different directions. How did that voice evolve?
Well, I was just, I was looking at the sides and, looking at the dialogue, and I knew he was a villain, and I just kind of like, I didn't know what he looked like yet. I didn't find out what he looked like until I actually booked the job and went to the session. But when I was doing the audition, I just kind of thought, what would this sort of crazed, psychotic villain sound like? Somebody who's just trying to, he's trying to keep it together the best he can, because if he doesn't, he's just going to fly apart, So that's kind of where he has a sort of strained sort of delivery that he has. So I just kind of worked it out just based on the dialogue and playing around with it.
So it's kind of similar to what Sam Witwer was doing with Darth Maul, except less on the broken side and more he's just really crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first scene in the opening of that episode where you're introduced to Moralo Evolve, Tom Kane's narrator is saying that, here he is, criminal mastermind Moralo Evolve, and you're seeing him, being marched into prison. It's like, all right, this guy obviously he's got a bit of a reputation and a record going on here. He's known as a criminal mastermind, and they're marching him into prison. He doesn't seem to have a problem with it, and he does seem to call the shots once he's inside, so he's an old hand.
Yeah, he doesn't seem the type of person you'd go, hey, Moralo Evolve, let's invite him to Sunday supper. He seems like a real stand-up kind of guy.
Probably not, and I know he's got a beef with Cad Bane now after this this 4-story arc that he was in, so I'm curious to see what happens next with this character.
As are we all. He's one of the few characters that actually, order clone troopers around while in prison.
Well, and it's funny because when I first did that episode, I didn't that's a whole arc. I didn't know whether he was going to survive or not. It is Clone Wars, it is Star Wars. It's not a guarantee that you're going to live. So I was kind of morbidly pleased to see that he had survived in the last episode and was just being marched off to prison again to yet bother our heroes again at a later date.
That is actually really cool. So, our listeners, like a lot of people, don't necessarily know as many voice actors as they should. They know the voices, but they don't connect the names with the voices. So, could you go through some of the voices that you're most known for, so that they can start making the connections in their mind?
Well, on the Clone Wars, of course, I'm known for a number of characters there. One will be Captain Wilhuff Tarkin, the future commander of the Death Star.
And, of course, Moralo Evol, Uncle Moralo, as he's come to be known by the fans.
And, of course, there's Masameda, who hangs out in the Senate chambers, with Palpatine. Those are kind of like the three of the, I think, better-known characters from that show. In like video games, I've done things like I was the Big Daddy character in BioShock, that big deep-sea diver-looking thing with the the drills for hands that's going around, causing a lot of mayhem. And I also did the character of Sasha 9 in the Psychonauts, who was Rasputin's mentor in that game.
Yeah, that was a crazy game.
In some other animation, I've done things for Disney. I've done the Disney theme parks. I'm the voice of the riverboat captain at Disneyland. I've done some stuff for Marvel, like Wolverine and the X-Men, and I played the evil Claw on Marvel's Black Panther. What was that? Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got the orange stripy guy over there at Disney Studios.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
Also happy from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And so, yeah, there's a lot of characters out there that secretly have my voice behind them.
Oh.
You also did work on Starship Troopers, at least the second one, I think, at least.
I did do the voice of the FedNet for Starship Troopers, the sequel, yes. Would you like to know more?
Oh, my God.
that
one I actually did not know. Wow. And I've that's weird because I just watched that movie a couple of days ago.
Ah, well, yeah, they're having the big cat 30-year, is it? No, it's not, the 15-year.
It's like 15-year, I think.
15-year cast and crew reunion at the Cinerama Dome, the ArcLight Theater up here in Hollywood. So that's just coming up here really soon.
Oh, that's.
Are you going to be involved at all with the new animated sequel that's coming up?
I'm not involved as of this point, but you never know what happens.
You never do, because I'll obviously be watching that one because I own everything Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah, Starship Troopers is awesome. We're big fans.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. It's definitely not everybody's cup of tea, but it's got.
Yeah, that's definitely an acquired.
And the toys were great too. You got to admit.
Oh yeah, the toys are awesome.
And the cartoon show was pretty awesome, except for the fact that they didn't finish it, and it's kind of frustrating.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. That is frustrating. But I'm a fan of the toys.
Yeah, well, I did a parody of the toy commercial. I don't know if it's on YouTube or on my Facebook page right now. Things have been moving around, but I did a whole thing where actually it was shot at the time the Starship Troopers was made, where we took the toys and we redid the voiceover and made the toys as they really would have been if they were more like the characters and monsters in the movie. So
really?
They're a little more realistic and a little more graphic.
Oh my goodness, great! That's horrible. I have to see that.
That's actually pretty awesome.
No, it is. That really is. It's like it's horrible, but in like the greatest possible way.
But that's what Starship Troopers is, though. If you really think about it, it's kind of horrible.
No, that's exactly what it is. It's horrible science fiction that is amazing because of the fact that it's like it's almost so full of itself at times, I think, that you just can't help but love it.
Well, I had a lot of really talented people working on it, so I think the end result really it was that year, I think, for the Academy Awards, they were up against the Titanic, so they didn't really have a chance, I think.
Yeah, you didn't really have a chance for that one.
Yeah.
I think, getting the Academy nominations.
Yes, I think that ship has sailed, but
you were able to work on other big science fiction. You were able to, you did Starship Troopers and Star Wars and so on. But also, I believe you also were on Titan AE, right?
Yes, I did. That was that was one of my first animated voiceover jobs. In fact, I believe we recorded the ADR for that on at Skywalker on their ADR stage there, because I remember there was like a London taxi cab and all these props and things that were on the stage. For doing all their Foley, all the sound, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. We did it as kind of like a whole group of us went in there and recorded that. I think in about a day or 2 days, I think it took us to record those aliens and stuff.
So one of our listeners wants to know, what was it like working with Don Bluth and Gary Oldman, who was, most of us know, were driving force in animation from the 80s and the 90s?
Well, I didn't actually get to work with either of them on it. I mean, when I was doing the ADR stuff, I was working with the ADR director, and it was a kind of a separate group. So unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Don Bluth on that show. I would have loved to, though. He's done a lot of big films.
Yeah, I bet you anything if I'd have been in that position, I'd been just a tad bit let down myself too. Like, dang, I would have liked to have met him.
I was just, of course, just ecstatic to be working on it. So,
Oh, of course.
And of course, the fact that we were doing it over at Lucasfilm, that was also a treat as well.
Oh, I would assume so. I'd be like, honestly, I could be a professional in that type of industry, walk in there and still just be like, oh my God, and like just have nerd boy moments. I really would. I would.
Well, I mean, I walked out of an ADR session over at Sony Studios recently, and right out across from the building across from me was the Ghostbusters car and the Green Hornets, the car from the Green Hornet, the Black Beauty. So I was like, oh gosh, and everybody was coming up and like touching it and taking pictures, and they're all people that work in the industry, but you just can't resist when you see something like that.
Yeah, you almost have that moment where you're like, ooh, shiny. Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Now I'm envious.
As you should be, Ket. As you should be. Or James.
Hey, no. We're for the listeners out there, we're doing a bit of a transition, starting to go by more our real names than, our stage names, so to speak.
That makes it sound kind of strange if you say a stage name.
Well, okay, I don't know how you want to call it. Role-play name, nickname, stage name, take your pick.
Our names. We're going by our names. But, okay, so next question.
Yes.
How did you begin voice acting? Like, when did you first decide that you want to be a voice actor?
Well, when I was a little kid, I used to mimic a lot of the cartoon voices that I heard on TV without any, plans of actually doing it for a living or even thinking that was, I didn't even equate that as a job. That was just something fun to do. And then, as I got older and I was going to film school and I was constantly volunteering, to do narration or voiceover or anytime anyone needed some sort of a voice track laid down. So it just kind of started to grow and snowball, and pretty soon it just kind of, became all consuming. And, I just kind of made the transition and thought, well, this is really fun. I'd like to do it all the time. Let's see, give it a shot, see what happens.
Well, on that note, I do want to ask, though, who would you say, like, getting into it, who do you think really influenced you the most with the voice acting? Like, did you have any real, like, inspiration besides just, like you were saying before with the cartoons?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that were around, that I saw on television when I was growing up had a big influence on that. Like Dick Tufeld, who did the voice of the robot in Lost in Space. And he also did the announce for the Disney, Wonderful World of Disney. He was an announcer there. He was an influence on me, along with people like Mel Blanc, and Rich Little, who was, I thought, the best impressionist in the time period. He used to do things like Richard Nixon and Johnny Carson and Jack Benny, and I thought all those things were great. So, those kinds of people were some of my earliest influences. And just, there weren't even so much people that did voices. Sometimes I just liked a particular character actor and the way they delivered their lines or the way, they, acted in general. Somebody like, a Jack Oakey or, or even like comedians like Jack Benny. They just had a delivery of doing things with their voice that I thought was interesting. And I think my love of voices grew out of listening to other actors like that.
Well,
So when did you first notice that you could, audio double people, and who was the first voice that you impersonated a lot?
That I impersonated a lot. I think before I was like being hired, I used to do a lot of Cary Grant, because I watched a lot of Cary Grant movies, and he was constantly being doubled in cartoons.
That's good.
That's my early ones that I did. You may remember I used to listen to the old Quaker cereal commercials, and they used to use a Cary Grant type of voice in one of their characters. I think it was Simon the Kangaroo. He's supposed to be from Australia, so for some reason they gave him Cary Grant's voice. And I think that's where I first became aware of, a lot of times I didn't realize that these cartoons were voices of famous actors until I got a little bit older and started watching, movies that didn't have, had things in them other than animated characters and monsters and robots.
Right.
Oh, wow. We're going to go over some of the voices which you've done. So have you ever had a voice which was, what was the most challenging voice which you've ever had to do, and why was it so challenging?
Yeah, like what made it hard?
Well, sometimes when you're doing these sort of like creature voices, those can get kind of hard just because the wear and tear on your vocal instrument, if you're doing something for hours on end. You know, I remember doing some gaming things, you know, like for Lord of the Rings and stuff that were really tough on your voice. As far as like the toughest voice job I've done was where I had to speak Chinese, but I had to do it with a British accent. So,
can you give an example of this one, like how it sounds?
What's that?
Can you give an example?
Well, I don't know Chinese. I had to do it all phonetically. They had a coach there with me, so they had all my lines written out. And I would repeat.
Oh, wow.
I had a coach that's part of the reason why it was so hard. I don't speak the language, so they had a coach, and he would tell me either yes or no, and then I would have to adjust my delivery with the English accent, because the English accent would change the pronunciation, and in Chinese, you know, the pronunciation is critical, because if you say it one way, it means one thing, and if you say it another way, it means another thing. So there's a lot of, you know, people say, well, you can't say it this way, you have to try to say it this way with the British accent. So I think that's probably to date the toughest job that I've ever done.
A Chinese voice with a British accent. That just doesn't seem right.
That makes my head hurt.
Yeah, and the accent that I was using, the British guy was, you know, like,
Hello, how are you? I don't think you know exactly what I'm talking about, but now I'm going to say what I'm going to say in Chinese. Thank you very much, you know.
Oh my God, that's got it. Wow. So you had to do that effeminate British voice.
Yes, he was.
But speech, wow. You know, wow, my brain is still trying to wrap itself around that one.
Well, yeah, I think everybody in the room was having it.
That's definitely eccentric headache number 9.
But it was fun. In the end, I mean, you don't get the, you know, those are the kinds of jobs that are hard, but those are the ones you remember, because they're so unique. They're so different.
Yeah, I imagine that would be something that would just stick out in your head for, like, the rest of time.
I think I'm going to remember that one for a long time.
It's like, yeah, so, like, you'd be, like, 80 years old talking to your grandkids. You know, one time I did the voice of a effeminate British person, and I spoke Chinese. And even they're like, wow, really? Like, even their minds are blown. It's like, that's something, like, even... You know, God forbid, but if Alzheimer's should ever set in, I still think that memory would be at the forefront, completely unaffected. Because that's crazy to me.
Definitely, and if I have to go back in and do some more, it's going to be crazy.
Ooh. You get to go back and do more?
I don't know. Like I said if I ever have to.
Because I imagine that would be quite entertaining.
Yes.
Maybe you should record it, have someone record it, and have it used as like a DVD extra sometime on some sort of collection.
Oh, yeah, true. But, you know,
if it's done, it'll be out there, so.
Yeah, well, you know, that actually kind of leads into, like, the next question I want to ask. When you're talking about, like, you know, as far as challenges with, you know, the acting goes, do you think that, like, it's more of a challenge to be directed for voice, like, for a video game, or for, you know, audio doubling? Like, when you're actually doing an actual, like, you know, specific person's voice?
Well, they both have their challenges, and sometimes they cross over, because sometimes I'm audio doubling on a video game, like I did with Iron Man, or the X-Men, where I was playing, you know, Tony Stark and, you know, Wolverine. So there you have, you're kind of like doubling up. You're having to keep in mind all the things that you're trying to keep in mind for doing the voice double. And then direction on video games is a little bit different than directing in animation, like television or features, because in a TV show or a feature film, you essentially have one storyline. In a game, you have a storyline that can branch off into many different areas depending on what the gamer's choices are. So, but you don't know what that is. I mean, when I did the first Iron Man game, you know, based on the movie, you know, the notebook they gave me with my script was this big, you know, 3-ring binder that was just like, you know, 3 inches thick. And, you know, we would just go page by page, and, you know, the story was not written out. So before, you know, I would do a page of dialogue or a series of lines, they would explain to me what the scenario was, so I have an idea of what it is that I'm talking about. Because when you're doing games, you're only given your lines. You're not given anyone else's lines. You usually just have the lines that you're supposed to speak. So you don't know what the context is most of the time. So someone has to explain it to you. So the sessions can be long. And, you know, Iron Man, it went over, you know I spent over a week recording those every single day, you know, for, you know, 4 or 5 hours a day. So, yeah,
that's kind of crazy.
So have you ever been able to meet the actors that you worked voice double for? And if so, did you ever try to respond to them in their own voice?
I usually don't meet them. Usually if I'm there, it's because the actor is somewhere where it's the reason I'm there is because they can't be there. They're usually like on the set somewhere else working on another film, or they're in another part of the world. So most of the time I work with the directors. I work with people like Gore Verbinski and people like that. I don't usually meet the actors that I'm voice matching.
So if you ever met like Christopher Walken or Sean Connery, would you ever just want to respond to them in their own voice?
Only if they asked me to. I wouldn't impose that on them. I wouldn't want to inflict that on anybody.
I imagine it would be kind of fun though, having them talking to themselves, so to speak.
That would be a little weird.
It could be kind of. You never know how people respond to that. Having someone do an impression of you.
I guess it depends on who the person is. Make sure you pick the right person.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like know to God that this person isn't going to like shove his entire fist through your mouth if we're doing it.
When I'm doing, despite the things what a lot of people do impression-wise, what I'm doing when I'm voice matching somebody is I'm not doing like a comedic impression of them. I'm trying to do the most realistic match of their voice, so that when they cut it into the soundtrack, no one will be the wiser that someone else has had to do that.
Have you ever done Dave for Dave Filoni?
Dave Filoni? No, I haven't. It just comes out spontaneously sometimes.
Oh God.
Okay, so we actually have a question from our site's owner. He when vocalists they do warm ups before they sing and so on. Do you do any special warm ups or anything before you record voices?
I do. I had some training in the bel canto voice method, so there are some exercises that I do when I need to warm up. But everybody's voice is different, and the kinds of things that they would do aren't the same for everybody. And mine are a trade secret, so I can't.
Trade secret. Okay, so it's not like the Force Cast Yoda warm up.
Oh, I don't have a. I suppose Tom Kane probably has a.
If you ever hear their Yoda warm up, it's quite it's entertaining.
Oh,
it's hilarious.
I'm not sure.
100% fake, of course, but it's entertaining. We know their secret. Your turn.
Oh, yes. I do apologize about that. I had a bit of a, hang on moment. My apologies, had the mic muted. So, okay. I wonder, though, going back to, Star Wars and whatnot and what have you, like, when you, like, how did you find out, or, like, how did they express interest in you to become the voice of Tarkin? And, like, how did that feel to know that you would be the voice of Tarkin?
Well, the audition for Tarkin just came in as an audition through my agency. So I just I got it, as one of my auditions for the day that I got it. And as far as I know, that's just the way I've gotten virtually all of the roles on the Clone Wars.
So there's like no special circumstances attached. It was just like, hey, why don't you try out for this?
That I'm aware of. I mean, there might be some stuff behind the scenes. You never know. But it was just presented to me by my agent. I did the what I thought was the best I could in coming up with a younger version. And
yeah. Oh, I love this.
The rest is history.
Oh yeah, I love the way Tarkin sounds. Tarkin sounds perfect.
Well, thanks.
So how did you feel when you got the part, though? Like, when you realized, finally sunk in, that you would be Tarkin on the Clone Wars, and you know what the fanboys are like?
Oh, I was like, overjoyed and ready to, like, faint at the same time, because, I know it was like, oh, this is great, I get to do this, but I'm thinking, oh, my God, everybody is going to be listening and critiquing, and I hope I give them something that they feel is worthy of the character, and, of course, the actor, Peter Cushing, who,
May he rest in peace.
So it was a double-edged kind of thing there. It's like I'm trying to do Tarkin correctly, and I'm trying to do justice to Peter Cushing's performance as well.
So, and meanwhile, you're sitting there just going, Stephen, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. There's a whole firm of fanboys that will dismember you. Don't mess this up.
There was almost a year of lag time between the time that I recorded it and by the time that it actually aired. As a matter of fact, when the Tarkin the Citadel trilogy aired, I was actually recording the Moralo Eval episodes for season 4.
Whoa!
Wow!
Yeah,
that is one heck of a lag.
Which means right now you're recording stuff for future seasons.
Absolutely.
Come on now, Jer. You know he probably can't talk about that.
I haven't heard Stormtroopers coming to his house yet, so I think we're good.
No, well, there's a season 5 trailer that's out, so you guys are probably
Yeah,
teaser.
We got the 25-second teaser.
Yes, it's a much longer trailer than that.
That's what I hope, but that teased me enough.
Dave brought it with him we had a screening of the last 2 episodes of Clone Wars last season at 20th Century Fox at the Daryl Zanuck Theater. And, so we got to see it in CinemaScope, widescreen, full-on sound, and Dave brought the full-on season 5 trailer with him. It was incredible. It's absolutely awesome.
So rather than sitting through, 10 different trailers of movies you don't care about, you got to see a Clone Wars trailer, and I imagine it was more rewarding.
You imagine what? I'm sorry?
I imagine it was far more rewarding and entertaining for you to sit through that sort of trailer than sit through how many other trailers they could have shoved in front of you.
Well, I like movies in general, so I mean, I love trailers just also because, that's another thing that I do voiceovers for. So I don't really have a particular kind of, I like trailers about movies about all different kinds of things. But definitely to see a Clone Wars trailer is kind of like a unique opportunity because it's a television show and you don't necessarily see something like that in a cinema.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I have a question about some of your voiceover work for trailers. On your website, you have the Amazing Spider-Man trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So did you actually do the voiceover for that one, or I'm wondering why it's there?
Yes, it's the international trailer that was released. I think it has the first footage of the lizard in there of any of the trailers. I think it premiered in Japan, and I have a scene in the middle of it where I do a voiceover over the black and white footage that's being screened there. About
Okay, because I was listening, I'm like, is he doing Andrew Garfield's voice in this trailer? I don't understand.
I'm doing an actual voiceover. Like I said, it comes in the middle of the trailer, right about the time when the black and white footage starts to come on. That's me talking over that.
Very cool.
We'll look for that voice then.
Yeah, it's a cool trailer. Absolutely, I think it's going to be a great film.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to go check that out.
Well, after seeing the Avengers, my bar is set really high, but let's hope it's good enough for me.
Well, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
always bring Spider-Man in and make him go with the Avengers in the next thing that they do.
Yeah, man. Let's bring out some
Once Sony decides to give up their rights to Spider-Man, if they'll ever do that.
Which I doubt, but it would be cool to kind of see the Iron Spider in an Avengers movie. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Oh, God. I'm like, I've been sitting here thinking, like, ever since I saw the movie, I've been sitting here thinking, wow, ways they could totally do the sequel, things that would be awesome. Oh, they can't do that because of Sony. Oh, they can't do that because of... Like, my brain was just racked because that movie was pretty freaking sweet.
Well, I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I'm hoping to see it real soon.
You'll enjoy it. Stay after the credits because there's 2 end credit scenes, but you'll enjoy it.
Oh, right. Yeah. There's basically a Joss Whedon moment in this movie, and it's great.
One Joss Whedon moment.
Well, no, come on. You know which one I'm talking about, but let's not ruin it for our special guest.
Okay. I guess we have one more question for you to finish this up. How does it feel to be involved in Star Wars, in George Lucas's Sandbox?
Well, it feels great. I mean, anytime you get to be involved in something that, something that you've loved for many years, and now you get to be a part of it, I think that's always, kind of like the icing on the cake. It's one thing to be doing voiceover, but then it's another thing to be doing voiceover for a project or a property that you think is really cool and it's had an effect on you. It's just like when I work on the stuff for Disney. These things have such a lifespan now. As a kid, you never thought they'd still be around when you were an adult, but here they still are, and it's great to be able to help to carry the torch on to the next generation and get a whole new group of fans excited about it and falling in love with it, for their generation.
I still sometimes feel that way when I do the podcast. Because it's nice, we're not officially linked with anything in particular yet, but still, I feel that way. Like, it's kind of cool when I get to talk to people, and just like right now, like, you've been an absolutely amazing guest. This has been a great interview. I got to give it up,
Thanks.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You guys are spreading the word. I mean, that's the thing. There's still a lot of people that either haven't seen Star Wars or haven't seen... As a matter of fact, I was at a toy store the other day, Santa Monica. It's a place called the Puzzle Zoo on the 3rd Street Promenade, and they have they used to be a lot bigger, but they remodeled their little smaller store now, but they have a big section behind glass cases of vintage Star Wars toys. And one of the clerks came over to help me, and she's probably about in her early 20s, and I was asking her about some of the figures in there, and she goes, "Oh, well, I don't really know." She goes, I've never seen Star Wars. And I'm like, "Really?" And she goes, "No." She goes, "Well, the guys I work here with, they talk about it all the time, so I feel like I've seen Star Wars, but I've never actually sat down and watched it." So, there's still people that haven't seen it yet, and I think there, kinds of things that you guys do really helps to get the word out, to get people to either look at Star Wars, look at the prequels, or look at Clone Wars,
Oh, yeah, we're all for that. It's like, oh, you haven't seen it? Well, you just sit right here and you don't have a choice now.
And then this weekend, people could see all of Season 4 of the Clone Wars for free on StarWars.com.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I may be checking some of those episodes out myself.
Oh.
Yeah, they're all there until tomorrow night.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So I'd like to thank you for being on, Stephen Stanton. This has been fantastic. We've actually been wanting you to be on for a while, but...
Thanks for the invitation, guys.
Anytime. And anytime you ever want to come back on, just let us know. You're always welcome here.
Well, Season 5's coming up, so I'm sure we're going to have a lot of things to talk about.
Ooh, I can't wait.
And continue doing the good work on Clone Wars, because your voices are amazing.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for that.
Especially Uncle Moralo.
Uncle Moralo, yes.
Yes.
Well, you'll be seeing, or at least you'll be hearing more of Uncle Moralo if you go to my YouTube channel. I suggest you go catch up, get all the latest episodes.
I think we shall, because we need to hear what happened with Uncle Moralo and why he's not in prison.
Yes, that's right. Uncle Moralo here on Bombad Radio. Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot, and I hope to be talking to you soon again.
We shall, and may the Force be with you.
You too.